After years of teaching business and entrepreneurship, I found that when guest speakers revealed the hardships and mistakes made throughout their professional and personal lives, it resonated with my students. That's when I thought, why not share these stories so that other entrepreneurs have access to the same insights for education and inspiration? I'm Casimir Ward, and this is Influencing Entrepreneurs. On this episode, we speak with Landon and Kat Eckles from Clean Juice. Landon and Kat opened their first store in June of 2015 after deciding to finally follow their entrepreneurial spirit and built a company that is rooted in biblically based principles. The first Clean Juice store was a great success, and they quickly began expanding and franchising. In 3 years, they have over 43 stores open and another 60 in development. They became the first franchise food concept that was certified USDA organic. They are passionate about providing an all-organic food option to people on the go. So a lot of success just within 3 years, but at the same time, where does this idea come from? What is your background that leads to we're going to open, I don't want to say a faith-based business, but it is a faith-based business. And then on top of that, healthy lifestyle business.
Kat and I got the idea to open Clean Juice in the summer of 2014, but it really came about because I was traveling a lot internationally for my previous job in commercial real estate development, and it was a great job, but it was very tough on us. It was tough on, we have a young family. She was pregnant with our fourth at that time, and it just became too much to try to be gone, while also trying to raise a family. We just needed a change. And Kat and I'll never forget it, we were out on our little ski boat up in Pennsylvania, and I had just gotten back from a trip. And we were talking about how awful the travel was and how tough it was. And Kat was like, well, what if we just move to Charlotte and open a juice bar? And literally the next day we drove down to Charlotte, we bought a house, and that's exactly what we did.
Why Charlotte?
Landon's mom had lived here for about 10 years prior, and we just love the area. We were in the Northeast, and it's expensive and cold, and people are crabby. And we had got to watching Elevation Church online, and they're based here in Charlotte. So we just felt called here, and that's kind of how we brought our faith into our business too. We wanted this business to be authentic to who we were. So choosing to use organic produce was something that I was doing at home for 10 years and was a non-negotiable for me. So I was like, if we're going to make this product, it's going to be organic, and our faith was what was driving us. So again, we just wanted to keep kind of our base and our roots in the business as we built it. So kind of moved down here, became part of the church, and we love Charlotte. We would never live anywhere else.
So, and you said commercial real estate?
Yep.
Commercial real estate and retail, let alone anything else.
Very different.
Exactly. So you probably are a customer of who you used to be.
That's right.
It's a huge leap.
It is.
No, honestly, just moving for another state for a job is one. But to come and we're going to open a juice bar, so the climate was right. The environment, you mentioned based on your faith principles, what lined up perfectly to say, okay, these are where my customers will be?
Well, I think a lot of people, when we were telling people about our idea, they were like, you have to go to New York City or LA. Like, that's the only place where it works. Like, why aren't you going to Southern California? And I was like, they already have this. There's plenty of juice bars in New York and California, but there's all these underserved markets that really need it. And we thought, if we can prove this model in suburban Charlotte, North Carolina, we can scale this nationally anywhere. So we kind of wanted to pick somewhere that was, first of all, underserved and was an educated population that was ready for something healthy while they were out. And again, that we could kind of replicate in, St. Louis, Missouri, because you can't compare St. Louis, Missouri to Southern California, right? But you can compare it to Huntersville, North Carolina.
You moved down here in 2014 and you opened your first shop in 2015.
Yep.
And where is that shop?
Birkdale Village, up in Huntersville near Lake Norman.
So you have your build, at least you've been through it on the commercial real estate, you have the build out.
Right.
It's a little bit different than a full service restaurant where you don't need a full kitchen, but you do need prep areas.
Yep.
But probably a little bit more detailed than a TCBY.
Sure.
This current model. So you build this up. Are you the first two employees?
Pretty much, yeah, definitely. So, we get this crazy idea to drive to Charlotte. We're going to open a juice bar, but we actually we did our research and we started looking around in, some of the franchises that were out there. We looked at, all of our big competitors, and, we didn't find anything that was organic. And I think, we found a lot of times that they were saying it was a pineapple kale smoothie, but they were also adding up to 12 tablespoons of sugar into that product. And we couldn't get behind anything like that. So that's when we really made that big leap of faith to just really start our own concept. So from summer of 2014 all the way to the summer of 2015, quit my job, no income coming in, everything going out. First 2 employees, and you had mentioned before, my background in real estate really helped us to find this space and negotiate it. Thank God I had that background, because I knew really everything the landlord was looking for in terms of the concept, what was attractive to them, the guests that we were going to serve, and how I could articulate that to them. And now as we scale, we know that story really well, and we know everything the landlords are looking for. So we're one of the reasons why we've been able to scale is because we're pretty desirable for them. They want, new, great looking concepts that serve a demographic that we're serving in their centers. So we were able to scale through that. But yeah, we were the first 2 employees, and we turned our kitchen into a test kitchen, and our kids ate nothing but smoothies for 10 months. So.
Let's go back to your competitors and adding sugar. I want to talk about what you execute really well, which is not just selling health, but practicing it. Because there are a lot of companies out there that they're really not selling health. They're selling the, I'm going to drink healthy, therefore I'm going to go to Juice King. I hopefully we don't have to bleep that out. But you go there and it is the last thing it is actually healthy.
That's right.
How does that affect to where those that think they're drinking healthy and getting a mouthful of sugar versus how do you sell that concept? How do you lose or gain customers based on that?
I would say luckily for us, people are becoming more and more educated, even day by day. So people are just becoming much more aware of what's going into their food and taking the time to kind of research all these type of things. But we do have that question all the time, how are you different from X, Y, and Z smoothie shop? And we just have to explain, high level the difference between processed sugars and natural sugars. We're just selling a product that really benefits your body in multiple different ways versus what's really a milkshake at that point,
right.
So, and we love milkshakes, but it's like if we're gonna go have that, let's go to get a really good, let's go to Jenny's Ice Cream and get ice cream.
Right.
Let's not get something that we're convincing ourselves is healthy.
Right.
I think with what we do, there's a big educational component, which is cool because we are continuing to educate people on the benefits of our products because there are true benefits to what we do. But also, on a macro level, we decided to do clean juice because we believed it was right. It was the right thing to do. It was the right product to offer. And it was something that we felt good about. But on a macro level, the organic industry has grown from $5 billion industry annually 10 years ago to $50 billion last year to it's supposed to be $350 billion over the next 6 years. So on a macro scale, it's really, really growing. But we did it because we just believed that it was the right thing to do. And, thank God it's something that's, people are really understanding and they're educating themselves on the importance of eating clean, eating organically, and, trying to limit sugar.
Was the goal to start one shop and that just be the family business and you run it, or did you have the vision early on, let's get it right and replicate it?
The number that we initially had set out before we opened, we're like, look, if we could do 10 stores in 5 years, that would just be incredible. That was like our big, that was our BHAG goal, big, hairy, audacious goal. Here we are 3 years later, and we have almost 45 stores open with another actually 80 in development. So it's incredible. And when we first opened our very first store, we did it obviously with a lot of faith behind that, and we just wanted our store to be so successful that people said there's no way they could have done that on their own without the hand of God over their business. And it's just pretty cool as to how he's been able to help us scale our business to where we are today. We definitely wanted to grow. First we had to prove it and then scale it. But we proved it pretty quickly and we scaled it really quickly. But, it wasn't because of what we were able to do. It's really, what we feel is a provision over our company.
So with that, you have 43 stores open now. I'm assuming with them being franchises that you only probably own a couple of those.
We do.
How many do you have? An equal number of franchisees, or are they? Does a couple franchisees own like 4 or 5 stores?
We own 5 stores corporately. We call them home stores, and then the rest are franchised. We actually have 55 franchise partner groups. So the average units owned is about 2. We have some that own, I think one owns over 5, a lot own just 1, and the median is like 2.
Your model, your franchise are very, very specific. Like, you know what you want and you know what your business is going to be about. How do you vet your franchisees? Because someone's going to invent something new, which is a cup of sugar. So how do you manage that and kind of regulate that?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and it's one of the most important things that we do. When we're opening a store, there's really 2 things you need. You need great real estate, and you need a great operating partner or a great franchise partner. If you get those things right, home run. So we actually have the best director of franchise development ever. Her name's Stacy, and she really starts the process with them, getting to know them, has multiple phone calls, FaceTimes with them, and she really gets to know them personally. Obviously, they have to have a certain amount of liquidity and cash flow to be able to open a Clean Juice, so that's vetted. But Kat and I still meet with every single potential franchise partner that come through our doors. So when we schedule a discovery day, we do it individually. A lot of companies, they'll bring in a group of people, hit them with a PowerPoint, and hope that they award maybe half the room. We do it a lot differently. We have them come in, we get to know them personally. We want to know, why do you want to open a Clean Juice? Why are you passionate about this? Are you passionate about it? What's your operating experience? Where do you want to go? Have you done the research on your market yet? So we ask them all these questions, and then they meet with our management team, and they get even more granular with those questions. We have them prepare a business plan as to how they are going to make Clean Juice successful in their neighborhood, right? Because it's their neighborhood and they know it better than we will. So it's up for them to provide that. And then they go around and see our stores. They see the back end of the business, the kitchen, the front of the house, the back of the house. We actually put them on the register for a minute to see how they interact with guests. We have them make product, and that's a whole day. So we really care about that because it's one of the 2 variables that we have to hit. In franchising, it's a beautiful business model if it's done well, and you do it well by bringing in great partners.
So bringing that really is the other question, is the scalability. There's a lot of companies that do what you're doing in one store for 5 years before the second one is created. In that scalability, so we started with just the 2 of you and maybe some child labor from your kids working in that first store, to where I already know in your corporate office you have, it looked like anywhere from 8 to 12 people. I mean, the company's grown vastly, and now you're at 43 stores. So where I kind of want to, if you can walk us through without details, a lot of companies, if they expand that quickly go bankrupt because they don't have the resources to do this. So do you self-finance? Do you get to a point where you bring in investors? Do you completely bootstrap? How do you handle that type of growth?
Great question. So in the beginning, it was just the 2 of us. I was very blessed in my previous career and did well, and really used that money plus some to open our first store. And then from there, we actually brought in a partner who just was coming in as a guest, a local wealthy individual, and just said, man, I love what you're doing. How can I get involved? We got him involved really quickly. And from there, he brought in his family. So basically one investor group. And that's been the fuel behind the fire to really get it going. Kat and I still own the majority of the business, and they're pretty much silent investors, and we still call the shots, but we needed that financing to be able to scale up as quickly as we have. I would also say that it takes a little level of crazy to scale your business that quickly.
Yes.
But I would also say that, it takes that plus 10 times the amount of passion for what you're doing, right? Because, I talk to a lot of people about how we've scaled and why we've scaled, and I would say that there's so much opportunity out there for young people, for really anybody. The labor markets, they're great. Like, the unemployment rates are very low. go do what you love, right? If you don't love what you're doing, don't do it, because I guarantee there's another opportunity out there that you'll love. I think it really stems from all of that, but then you have to have the business behind it, and you have to have the financing behind it. We actually have almost 30 employees at our home office now to really scale, to continue to scale the business, because we have almost 45 open, but another 80 in the pipeline. So we're scaling for that. We've moved offices 3 times because we just keep outgrowing. Clean Juice actually almost employs 1,000 people at this point, which is really incredible. So, we're continuing to scale for that.
At what point do you make a decision? Do you ever get to that point where you are teetering of, oh my gosh, we're all in? Because here's the thing, that sometimes happens by accident and by passion. And or do you get to the point where you say, okay, enough's enough, let's go look for our investor, let's go look for our perfect investor?
When we brought on our second partner, we were at that point where we were literally writing checks to pay payroll, of our corporate staff that we had just hired to be able to scale, because the stores weren't open yet, so they weren't producing income. So there was definitely a period there where it was really stressful. Luckily, we had been talking to my partner's brother-in-law about coming on, and thank God he ended up making an equity investment. So we sold him a piece of the company for his equity investment. And it was literally right at the perfect time. And then from there, he saw where we were able to scale, and then we brought in our last partner, who's actually the 2 brothers' father-in-law. So one little investor group, they're incredible. They all came in at the perfect time when we needed them to come in for the business. It's very hard when you're scaling a business, because you don't always know what's in front of you. You don't know how quickly it's going to grow or how slow it's going to grow. So you don't want to give away too much, but you also want to be careful of your liquidity and how much cash flow you have. So it's a fine balance, but there have been some very challenging parts along the way, but we haven't had to take on really any debt. We've just been able to sell equity and raise funds that way.
Bringing in that first partner is nerve-wracking, because you need something, you need capital. You also don't, your goal isn't to snow through anybody. You really want to, you don't want to let them down.
Right.
So finding that partner and building that relationship of setting expectations, like, this is what we need, this is what we think we're going to do with it. But there's always that risk that, it may just not go as planned. We've talked earlier on too, though, that is in your business model is how your faith is incorporated into your model. So while the healthy aspect is completely visible, how do you translate that to where it is part of your model and part of your customer experience, customer base, and so forth?
Mm-hmm.
So all of our core values are biblically based, and when we're bringing on a potential franchise partner, we send them something that's called a franchise overview report. It's basically a report that just tells them about Clean Juice and what we do and who we are. And in the first section, it lays out our core values, and these are the values that really kind of found how we operate our business. The way that translates to the store is that we try to treat people, better than what we're treated. If somebody's having a bad day, it's our job to cheer them up. We work hard for other people by respecting their time. We're in the restaurant business. We got to be quick. We got to move. So we really, try to just distill those principles down to really basic, what we believe are just the right things to do. And that's how it translates through the business. When it comes to the service piece, we basically have 3 principles, and it's smile, speed, and service. People want to be treated well. They want to be treated kindly. They want to be, if they're coming in to eat, they probably were hungry 30 minutes ago, so they want their smoothie now. The service piece is just the quality of the product that we put out every single time. So if we can get those 3 things down, you got a recipe for success. And those come from our core values, which are all biblically based.
As you open the first store, which I got to tell you, it probably would have been a reality show with you and your children in that first
It
store.
still is.
Yeah. When do you show up one day and you're like, have we made the right decision? Should we have done this, or should I still be in corporate real estate?
I think that's that level of crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I think every single day we've never done this before. I've never scaled a QSR restaurant to 50 locations in 3 years. So there are a lot of things that I don't know that she doesn't know. She would admit that she knows them, but she doesn't know them. But we're working on that. But we're just trying to make decisions every day, and sometimes it's very overwhelming, and sometimes it's very hard. But, again, we just believe that we're on this path for a reason, that we didn't put ourselves on this path, but he's really guiding us through this. I just believe you have to have, a foundation that you believe in that's bigger than yourself, right? Because if you try to bear all that weight, especially when you have 1,000 employees, that's a lot of weight to bear.
Yeah. How do you balance the customer experience versus right now you're probably more involved with the stakeholders, which would be your franchisees or your prospective franchisees?
Mm-hmm. It's funny, when you were just asking that, I was like, I think it was easier when we were back in the store. Like when we were just in Birkdale and focused on that. And, franchisee relations can be tough. It's like having 53 different groups that have invested in your business. It's like we have 53 bosses to report to, that we really honor and we really want to do right by. So I think that's probably one of the hardest parts of the business, but it's definitely what Landon and I are focused on, just, making sure that they're up and running well and our team is supporting them best and we're giving them all the tools to be able to be an effective small business owner.
So what are some of those successes or victories that you get that just make it all worthwhile?
I would say, typically in franchising, it takes sometimes between 6 and 12 months to become cash flow positive. And that's pretty standard. But when we have a store that just opens up with a bang and they're crushing it and their community is so excited that they've opened a Clean Juice, there's nothing better than that for the two of us, because we believe in Clean Juice. We believe that communities are better served when we're open and operating there, because we are serving organic, healthy products on the go, and no one's doing that. So we believe in the mission, we believe in the product, but when a community embraces us as much as we try to embrace them, there's nothing better than that.
We talked about the education portion. What's the most effective way you've found to get that message to your potential customers?
It's hard to beat Instagram right now, because everyone's on their phones. It's all digital. We try to do stuff in the stores, but everyone's like this all day long. So any way that we can get in front of them on their phone is really helpful.
And I think regardless of the platform, it's really, being relatable, right? What you're saying. People, I think that people genuinely want to do the right thing. They want to be healthy. They want to make good decisions. So if you can, educate them on, why your products are good and healthy and steer them towards that, they're probably going to pick up on it. So, I think that the way you do it and the medium in which you do it is important, but I think it's the message and just being relatable and just saying, hey, look, we don't have it all together, but when we're trying to eat healthy, we'll grab a smoothie instead of a burger and going down that route.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you both for being here today. Sure. And I'll point everyone to cleanjuice.com.
That's it, cleanjuice.com. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.